Hallo, welkom hier by Farmspace. Right, ons het so 3 jaar terug het ons met Jarren Hurwitz gepraat spesifiek oor kuilvoerkerwers en spesifiek die Claas kuilvoerkerwers. Nou, ek het onlangs by Hurwitz se produksieveiling weer met hom gesels oor presies waar hulle bedryf nou staan van daai tyd af. En ja, het hulle uitgebrei nie, so kom ons luister. Jarren, how are you doing?
Can you, Andre?
Nou, good. Dinge hardloop.
Yeah, lekker to have you back with us.
Ja, nee, dankie. Is altyd lekker hier by julle.
Well, nice to have you back at an animal sale also.
Yeah, and congratulations. I've seen it inside. I'll show the guys. Hier's vir julle 'n bietjie prentjies. Kyk hoe lyk die veiling besigheid. You guys really stepped it up a level again. Eh? It's
Thanks,
always that thing when I come here, I'm like, okay, cool, the other guys are going to have to improve now.
So, thanks, Andre. Well, we try our best. What can we say?
Yeah, well, that always helps. So, I want to talk a little bit about jou kuilvoer besigheid ensovoorts. Verduidelik my gou 'n bietjie, julle het 'n paar jaar terug met hierdie storie begin. Ons het so 3 jaar terug gepraat. En soos ek verstaan het julle nog uitgebrei, julle het nog masjiene bygekry ensovoorts. Verduidelik my gou die kern van wat julle doen en hoe julle doen. Hoekom is julle suksesvol?
Andre, yeah, the silage division is a division within the business, and it has expanded quite a bit, and we are continually expanding it and trying to improve and grow it. So from the equipment side, we definitely have added quite a bit of equipment and quite a bit to the fleet, and our capabilities have to increase as the scope of work increases. So, we operate almost all year round countrywide, from the top to the bottom, left and right of the country, and we're very passionate about our silage production from everything. Not only your maize crops. There's a big market out there and a big demand for the grass silages and oats and all of these types of crops that can be made into fantastic silage and fantastic feed. So we're doing it.
So, hier's my vraag, né? In die verlede was dit kom ons noem dit, ek wil amper vir jou sê daai masjien agter jou is 'n barrier to entry in die silage bedryf in. Want ek as boer het nie die kapasiteit om daai ding ekonomies te regverdig nie. Maar die blote feit dat julle in die veld is en julle actually meer kapasiteit het ensovoorts, dink jy dit het ook gemaak dat omdat die diens beskikbaar is vir die ouens, dat hulle actually nou meer begin kyk na kuilvoer opsies ensovoorts?
Definitely, Andre. The feed you can make on your farm is still your most affordable, cost-effective, efficient feed. You're not having to use outside transport. There's no logistics to truck it in. You make it on the farm. You've got it on the farm. As long as you can manage it and preserve it, it's on the farm. And silage is the optimal product for that, because that's exactly what it is. It's fodder, it's feed you make on the farm. You preserve it by ensiling it, and you can feed it out, and it lasts a long time. So it's a fantastic feed source and very cost effective. And on the machinery side, you talk about barriers to entry. It's very expensive equipment, very expensive machinery. And there's no difference in agriculture versus the transport industry. And there's a similar saying that says if the wheels of the trucks aren't turning, the transport is not making money, or he's losing money. And it's the same thing with large-scale equipment in the agri-space. The stuff needs to work. So if you have a need to buy that machine for your own farm, you need to be able to use it for a long period of the year. If not, it's often far better just to get a contractor and get the job done, pay your bill, and move on and know that you've got a professionally made, high-quality feed on your farm. And it didn't cost you a fortune because the equipment is sitting in the shed for 50 out of 52 weeks in a year, because that's often what happens with these types of large-scale silage making equipment.
Definitely, I totally agree. Now, I want to get a little bit more of an idea how the operation works. So you've got these trucks, hierdie trokke wat julle ook gebruik, basies wat hy dan nou sy kuilvoer daar binnekant ingooi ensovoorts, en dan gooi hulle af. Hierdie is hoofsaaklik gebruik julle hulle vir die kuilvoer gate, of hoe maak julle met hierdie goed? Ek weet julle het sulke sakke ook. Verduidelik my gou 'n bietjie van daai sakke.
Yeah, Andre, we specialize in the bagging of the silage. We sort of gave it a big smack, bringing it into the country and making a big noise about it a couple of years ago. And that's what we do. We have multiple bagging crews that run with our chopping crews. And it's all about scale, speed, efficiency, and volume. So yes, these large trucks, the truck you saw behind me now, this is a 6x6 horse that we imported specifically into the country for our operation. It's a 6x6 so that it can go in field and perform an agricultural function. So we don't just use normal trucks, and the trailers are purposely built. So they're large volume trailers, they run along large volume cutting machines, and then from there they dispense straight into the bagger, and the silage is made and installed within a matter of minutes. So our process is designed to be large scale, fast, and get the insiling done as quickly as possible, because that's how you preserve your best quality silage. Get that oxygen out as quickly as possible, and the only way to do that is to actually get it out. And by getting it into the bag, we can have the silage in what we call an anaerobic state, or virtually anaerobic state, and starting to ferment within half an hour to an hour of cutting the crop in the field, depending on the distance. And that's what you want.
En dan het jy ook nie die trekkers wat jy altyd oor die ding moet ry om die goeders uit te kry en al daai dinge nie.
I'll tell you, interestingly enough, I had a meeting this week about a potential customer who wanted to know a little bit about it, large scale. And they said to me, last year we trucked our heaps with our 9 series John Deere tractors, and we popped a gearbox, and I don't want to tell you what the bill was because of that. And that's exactly the point. That type of equipment is not built to be riding on wet, spongy material up and down, forward, rolling forward and back. That's not what it's built for. And what's worse is these chaps said to me that now, because of the gearbox problems and parts problems in the country because of COVID and all the rest of this, and every manufacturer is going through it, they now don't have the equipment to do their tillage. So they're now behind in terms of their workflow for the year. And these are things that farmers often don't think about because of the catch-up.
They call hidden costs.
Absolutely. But when you see the invoice, it's not so hidden, boy. It's on your desk right in front of you.
So, en dan wil ek jou by 'n ander ding hoor, nê. Hierdie Jaguars. Nou, soos julle het nou 'n hele paar van hierdie goede, nê. En soos ek verstaan, die goed se kapasiteit is ongelooflik, en ook die hele shredlage konsep. Kry julle dit by party boere wat hulle sê, luister hierso, I want the shredlage in my because I get a better quality feed, or is it something that the guys not necessarily so picky about?
No, there definitely is an awareness growing in the market. Firstly, talk about the capacity of the machines. They are fantastic. They are brilliant machines, and they're being improved year on year. The Germans are really pulling out all the stops in terms of product improvement and capacity improvement, and they're just getting better and better. So they are fantastic machines. And the shredlage is definitely a concept that is taking a big space in the market. There's the concept of shortcut, long cut, and all the rest of that. There's a lot of science behind that, and each farmer, each customer will have their own preference. But what is unbelievable with these machines is the kernel processing capacity in that shredlage corn cracker, and that's really where it makes a difference. When you're cutting silage, you want to chop up that corn pit as much as possible, because that's where the starch release comes. Especially in the dairy industry, they're very sensitive to that because they can measure it. In the feedlot industry, it's not as easy to measure. But there's definitely a growing awareness, and people are starting to say to us, yes, please, we want the shredlage machines because we're getting better results with it. So it's all about technology and technological improvements. It's not gimmicks. And I think in agriculture, we always have to embrace that. We've got to look for what is the best out there from a technological point of view, because we have to chase efficiencies.
Yep.
You've got to sift through the gimmicks, but once you know something works, you can't sort of put it down because you're scared of it. That technology needs to be looked at, embraced, because there's a benefit to it. And at the end of the day, it's rands and cents in your pocket after that exercise, and that's what we're all about.
100%. And then out of an efficiency point of view, I'm guessing you wouldn't have been buying more of these if they weren't actually fitting within your operation.
Absolutely not. They fit perfectly into our operation. We've got a lot of these machines. We know how to work with them. We know how to cooperate with the manufacturers and the importers, even the guys in Germany, direct from the factories there. We speak to them from time to time. So we've got a great network going with that, great support structures, and it's critical to our business. Silage is always a time-sensitive game because you're chasing against moisture, you're chasing against the seasons. You need uptime. Downtime is a killer. You need uptime, and uptime is reliable equipment and a reliable network and infrastructure and backup, and that's what we've got, and that's why we stick with it, and that's why we grow it, because without that we don't have a business. It's as simple as that. So we are very happy with it. We keep going with it. Who knows, maybe in a year or two when we do this again, we'll have a few more of them. We can only hope.
That's
and
what
try.
I wanted to ask you now. So how does the future look? Hoe lyk die toekoms vir julle kuilvoer besigheid?
No, look, we're very optimistic, and I think the future looks bright. Again, everything's about efficiencies and cost savings, and I think the knowledge in the market out there and amongst the farmers, the knowledge of being able to make feed on your farm as opposed to buying it in, and that cost saving that comes through it will become more and more prominent. And also on that, as I mentioned earlier, we are putting a big focus on making alternative silage products or from alternative crops alternative forage, whatever you want to call it. I mean, our range of what we're making silage of nowadays, Oulandsgras, teff, ryegrass, kikuyu, smuts.
As hy groei word hy kuilvoer.
Absolutely. And the cost comparatives, just take a simple Oulandsgras type of scenario. If you really dig into the costs of making hay versus making silage out of that, never mind the superior feed quality that comes with it, it's chalk and cheese. You put that away, you've got the grass on your farm, it's perennial crop, you're putting your fertilizer every year and you put your feed away. You can get a hugely increased protein level from making silage out of the grass. You get a higher volume, mass, and less wastage when you feed it out, because as we know, dry hay, often the animals mess it quite a bit, and it falls all over the show. When you in silage, you don't have that because they eat it sort of into the ground. So these types of alternative practices, which aren't as popular in the country yet as, say, maize silage, there's a lot of growth there. Look, we do a hell of a lot of hectares on that, as I say, countrywide, and I think that's going to carry on expanding because it's there.
And as you say, countrywide, so it doesn't matter where. No. You must probably have got a machine there somewhere running around.
We had a request from a regular customer of ours this week to come and do a handful of hectares of a very different type of crop. I won't go into specifics, but our equipment at that stage was 600 kilometers away. And because they're a regular customer and we could do it, and our equipment has the capability to just jump on the road and drive, we were there. We left the next day, we were there, we went and we did it in half a day. We finished the job and the equipment goes back another 600 kilometers. So we can, if time permits, we go everywhere. As I say, from north to south, east to west, we're all over the show, and often, running a good few crews at once. Last year in the heat of the season, we were running 16 different teams countrywide from almost every province you can think of. So, we are very, as I say, we're very passionate about the silage game, and we will keep on growing it and keep on trying to do our best with it and providing the best service and product for the customers, because if we don't do that, we're no longer relevant. And to do that, we need the best equipment in the game also. So that's our model, and hopefully we'll be able to continue doing it.
Dit is Jarren van Hurwitz Farming. Okay, right, hierdie kuilvoer besigheid, dis 'n mond vol. As julle meer wil weet, sit vir julle linkie bo, gaan dan na die webwerf toe, dan kan julle met hulle in kontak kom. En hulle ietsie daar by jou kom kuil. Is hier van Farmspace af. Tot volgende keer. Groete.